ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। Om. Today we will start off with the discussion of Suktas from Mandalam 3. Om. Suktam 1. Rishi Vishwamitra Gathina Devada Agni Drashtup Chanda. This is the first Sukta from sage Vishwamitra, who was a legendary figure in his time. As per the usual practice followed in Rigveda, this Sukta is dedicated to Agni. Different forms of Agni, who represents the soul of energy, are talked about in this Sukta. The first few rigs deal with Agni, heat energy present in the water particles in the atmosphere. 3.1.1 Samasyama Tavasam, O soul of Agni, may you render me vigorous, who is the bearer of the Sama essence, spiritual. In this sacrifice which I wish to perform, I perform this to honor enlightened beings. You are harnessed to the cloud. O spiritual Agni, may you be delighted with this body. This is by way of introduction to the Sukta. The seer is about to give an exposition on Agni and the different virtues attributed to him by the ancient enlightened souls. He is acknowledging the fact that the soul of energy, Agni, is to give him sufficient energy to accomplish this task. 3.1.2 Prancham Yajnam Chakrma. O Adhyatmik Agni, by this sacrifice, please lead us forward. May our speech ever increase. People honor Agni with oblations of fuel and with worshipful hymns. May Agni appreciate the hymns of the shining wise scholars. They like to glorify Agni for knowledge and strength. Sage Vishwamitra is recognized as one of the wise scholars mentioned in the Rig, as he is invoking Agni with Vedic hymns. 3.1.3 Mayodadhe Medhira, soul of Agni, intelligent, pure-minded, a good friend of all from the time of his birth, is the upholder of happiness of the space and the earth. Enlightened persons discovered that visible Agni, who was hiding with his sisters, namely air and water, in the atmosphere. This Rig deals with heat energy stored in the atmosphere with air and water vapor. Air and water are considered as sisters of Agni or energy, as all of them manifest from the same parents, the manifested self and Maya, who is personified ignorance. As air and water do not possess any energy, they are considered as females, in contrast to Agni, who is treated as a gent. 3.1.4 Avarthayan Subhagam, the restless seven-colored rays enhance the glory of the good-tempered fire Agni. He is born bright and charming. Eager to acquire more and more knowledge, enlightened souls praise that Agni, who is like a newborn child, desiring to make himself charming. Fire radiates seven-colored light, which is a well-known fact. The first part of the Rig may not need any elaboration. Fire, as soon as it is born, is to be nurtured with steady fuel supply. Similarly, intelligent men nurture Agni, the soul of energy, in their intellect, or meditate on Agni regularly. Shukrebhirangai Raja 1.5. Soul of Agni, pervading the space with pure limb-like rays and purifying the intellect and power of action of the sacrificer with pure knowledge, covering himself with a cloth of light or knowledge, achieves great and undiminished prosperity. Agni, physical and spiritual, possesses purifying powers. This is being brought out here. His purifying powers bring prosperity to human beings. Vavraja, Seaman 3.1.6. Agni, physical or heat, pervades in all directions the flowing water particles of the atmosphere. They do not wear any clothes, but is not naked, without any teeth, or not eating anything, and not insulted by anybody. These ever young ladies, producing 7 notes of speech and living in the same place, upheld Agni within them. Water is present in the atmosphere in the vapor form, which contains latent heat of vaporization of water, or heat energy, a form of Agni. Air and water together upholds heat as sensible heat as well. The 7 speech may be referring to 7 notes of sound, sa, re, ga, ma, etc. And these sounds travel through the air and water. The 7 speech could also be Vedic hymns, which are mostly in 7 meters, Gayatri, etc. Sirna asya samhato. The all-pervading rays of spiritual Agni contiguously appear in infinite forms in the atmosphere, in the streaming waters. The swollen water streams flow together well between the earth and the sky. They became the parents of the charming Agni. Latent heat carried by different particles of water vapor in the atmosphere is mentioned here by the words infinite forms. Alternately, they could be energy emitted by infinite stars in the space. Following the natural cycle, water flows between the atmosphere and the earth, carrying energy with it. Thus, earth and atmosphere look like parents of Agni. 1.8 Ruk. Bhaprana suno sahaso. O son of might Agni, you shine bearing the powers of the body and the soul, which are free from diseases. This mighty Agni grows with hymns full of wisdom, and sweet water streams flow down to earth as rain. This Ruk also talks about the grass and spiritual Agni. Spiritual Agni grows with hymns, while the grass or physical Agni grows with oblations of food articles and fuel. Only if grass Agni gives the necessary energy for water, it can rise up in the atmosphere in vapor form and produce rain. This is implied in this Ruk and elaborated in the next one, 3.1.9. Vidushchidu Dharjanusha. Vidushchidu Dharjanusha 3.1.9. Soul of Agni knows the cloud which acts as the udder in the sky for the water particles. He causes the waters to flow down in the company of auspicious friends like the Maruts or Pranas and flowing water streams. This Agni, moving in the heart space, could not approach the one stationed there in the cave of the heart. Agni or energy is present in the atmosphere in the company of air and water vapor. Agni is present in the bodies of born beings supplying energy for their activities. Agni or energy stays with the self within the heart space, making the heart beat constantly. But this Agni, though staying together with the self in the heart space, does not know the self. This is so obvious since Agni, driven by the self, does not know the driver, the self. Vidushchagarbham 3.1.10. Physical Agni upholds the source of water in the atmosphere, and that on the Mother Earth. He alone drinks the growing water streams before. Thus, both space and earth, the two protectors, become equally related to the mighty shining Agni. May he protect all. Agni or energy is responsible for holding water vapor in the atmosphere, or energy is the cause of rain, and so also rainwater falling onto the earth. Thus, atmosphere and earth are related to Agni in the same way as far as water is concerned. (3.1.11) Urau Mahang Anibadhe. The great Agni grew up in the unbounded space because he was being nourished by the agreeable water particles before. Agni lives in the atmosphere, which acts as a source of water, as a devoted brother to his sisters in the atmosphere, namely air and water. In the atmosphere, only a part of energy is held by water. Energy is present in the unbounded space also even before. As atmosphere is one of the sources of water, it is said that atmosphere serves as a home for Agni along with his sisters, energyless air and water. 3.1.12 Akro Navabri Sasamithe. The manifested Agni, who is present inside the water particles, is the best among leaders, is active, is invincible in battle, is nourisher of all the worlds, is visible to all, and is upright with the luster of knowledge and wisdom. He gives birth to waters for the sake of all living beings on the earth. This lists many noble deeds of spiritual Agni. Basically, it only means that Agni supplies energy necessary for all activities in the universe, gross or physical, mental or subtle, as well as spiritual. Apam Garbham Darshata 3.1.13. The pleasing forest gave birth to that Agni, which is in the water and in plants, appearing in different forms. Learned persons understood that manifested Agni, which is admirable and mighty, with their intelligence, and utilize it appropriately. All pervasiveness of Agni is elaborated in this Ruk. Natural fire appears on the earth as forest fire. So forest is thought of as the home of fire. Obviously, Agni or energy in water and that one in plants which helps their growth are of different form from the one that destroys the plants. Intelligent men knew or know the different forms of energy and utilize them properly. 3.1.14 Grihanta it bhanavo The brilliant rays of the sun, pure like lightning, depends on that Agni, who is shining with his spiritual rays. He is fully grown and is eternal. He enjoys himself in the expansive earth in his own home, which is like a cave. Here the seer of the Sukta is acknowledging the fact that the same Agni energy appears in different forms in the sun, in lightning and inside the earth, light, electrical and heat energy respectively. 3.1.15 Ile Chatva Yajamano. The sacrificer I praise you with these hymns thus, O Agni, desirous of your favor, I implore good intellect and your friendship. Please grant protection to me, who is your admirer, along with other enlightened beings, and guard me with your disciplined army of flames when necessary. Sage Vishwamitra is glorifying by this that Agni, which manifests in different forms. He is also telling that the very same Agni is to protect the sacrificers by supplying them the energy needed for their sustenance and activities, as mentioned in the next 3.1.16. Upakredarastava Supranide. O good leader of men, Agni, your admirers, we, upholding all the noble virtues, gathering strength, physical, mental and spiritual, are always happy overcoming ignorant and wicked persons by sharp good knowledge. Admirers could mean persons who know Agni or energy and his importance from the point of view of their existence and sustenance. Physical and mental energy is needed to overcome one's external and internal enemies. This is to come from Agni. Knowledge gives and it is. Knowledge gives strength and it is strength. Ignorance is the cause of fear. May Agni give knowledge. This is the wish of the seer. That 3.1.17. Devanama Bhava. O giver of delight, Agni, you become a great scholar among the enlightened souls. Knower of Vedic hymns, you stay as a friend in the bodies of mortal beings. Being a master of chariots, accomplishing good works, you follow the path followed by wise men. As Agni is worshipped by Vedic hymns, he is said to be knower of Vedas. Agni stays in the bodies of born creatures as Vaishwanaragni and Jatharagni. He drives the bodies to action, or the bodies serve as chariots to Agni. People accomplish their tasks on account of Agni's presence in their bodies, or Agni is said to accomplish the tasks with the help of these bodies. The path followed by wise men and in truth the self. Agni, the soul of energy, also leads men to the self. 3.1.18 Ni Durone Amurto. The deathless shining Agni, staying in the houses of human beings, accomplishes all forms of sacrifices. That knower of all Vedic hymns and symbol of water, soul of Agni, shines brightly on the earth. From the explanation given above, First part of the Ruk should become clear. Energy in different forms must be present in all human dwellings. Energy is present in the water and on the earth. Energy is present in the water and on the earth. This even a child should be able to appreciate. 3.1.19 Ano Gahi Sakhebhi. O quick moving, glorious Agni, please come to us with auspicious, friendly and mighty protections. Please take us across the many difficulties that we may face regularly and lead us to highly desirable, noble speech and good wealth or reputation. This is a prayer to Agni, the soul of energy, to give the seer of the Sukta and other sacrificers sufficient energy to face their day-to-day problems effectively and move towards their final goal, truth. Suktam Ruk 3.1.20 Erate Agne Janima Sanani. O Atmi Agni, I recite these excellent hymns which are ancient and eternal, as well as the new ones. Knower of all creatures, who stays in the bodies of all born creatures, to that shower of happiness these have been prepared. Keeping in mind some of the explanations given earlier, this Ruk is more or less self-explanatory. 1.21 Janmam Janmam Nihito Jataveda, that knower of all creatures, who resides in the bodies of all born beings, is being kindled every day by all friendly wise men. May we, who are admirers of that invoke-worthy Agni, live in loving kindness in his auspicious grace. Part of the Ruk is also understandable easily. Wise men meditate on Agni, or Agni is kindled by sacrificers daily. May all living creatures live under the protective umbrella of this spiritual Agni. That is the hope and wish of sage Vishwamitra, who is the friend of all. 1.22 Imam Yajnam Sahasavantvam. O mighty performer of good deeds, Agni, be pleased with us. Please bear this, our sacrifice, to the enlightened, truthful beings. O acceptor of oblations, grant us abundant food and knowledge. O Agni, please give us ample wealth. This Ruk contains simple prayers to Agni, which can be easily understood by all. Last Ruk in this Sukta is 1.23. Ilamagne Purudam Samsanim Go. O spiritual Agni, please grant to a person abounding in wonderful deeds the gift of constant flow of speech, and also to one who is praising you with hymns. May your gracious will be ever upon us, so that we may be happy with wise and illustrious children and grandchildren. Sage Vishwamitra is to be considered as the performer of noble deeds and praiser of Agni with Vedic hymns. Indirectly, the sage is praying to Agni for wise offsprings and happiness, physical, mental and spiritual. This marks the end of a good Sukta, and the first one from sage Vishwamitra. We go now to Sukta 2 from sage Vishwamitra. Devata is Vaishwanara Agni and Chandas is Jagati. Vaishwanaraya, Dirshana 3.2.1. To that enhancer of Vrita, leader of all men, Vaishwanara, soul of Agni, I prepare intelligent hymns which are pleasure-giving like purified waters. An intelligent person approaches an acceptor of sacrifice in two ways, with intellect and actions, and with good weapons like an axe to make a chariot. Seer of the Sukta is preparing this hymn to please spiritual Agni. In general, sacrifice can be either gross, physical, or mental by means of worshipful hymns. This sacrifice the seer belongs. This sacrifice of the seer belongs to the second category. We go to Rug 3.2.2. Sarojayat Janusha Rodasi. That Adhyatmic Agni illuminates both the space and earth as soon as he was born. He became the respected son of the parents. That bearer of oblations, Agni, imperishable, beneficent through cooking food, and easily subdued and affluent in radiance, becomes the honored guest of mankind. The parents of Agni, as mentioned earlier, are the space and earth. When Agni makes his appearance, he illuminates both the space and the earth. The second part of the Rug contains some virtues of Agni which have been dealt with earlier. 3.2.3 Kratvadakshasya Sarusho. The wise learned person, skintil, soul of energy, Agni, with their intelligence and actions of preserving strength, which takes them across miseries. Desirous of food and happiness, I address Agni, who is great and bright with effulgence and who is vigorous as a horse. Fire was first produced by intelligent men of ancient times by suitable physical or mechanical action. Then they used fire for a variety of purposes. Cooking food was one of the purposes. It was also used as sacrificial fire. 3.2.4 Mandrasya Sanishyanto. For attainment of joy, we invoke Agni, who is the most respectable of all pleasant things, who originates from shyness, who is known through the Vedas, who is speedy and is the gift of destroyers of ignorance, is highly desirable, is wise, and is shining with celestial splendor. Agni, appearing in different forms, heat, light, electricity, chemical, etc., gives comfort and happiness to mankind. Most of the Rug is devoted to virtues of Agni. 3.2.5 Agnim Sumanaya Dadhire. Performers of sacrifices, who cover the atmosphere with smoke of fire, with lifted up ladles. For happiness, invoke Agni in front of them. He gives energy for cooking food, is resplendent, is present in all celestial objects, is the destroyer of all evils. He accomplishes the holy acts of sacrificers and is the benefactor of the learned. Agni is present in all objects since motion involves expenditure of energy. When energy is emitted by infinite number of celestial objects, rest of the earth needs no explanation. 3.2.6 Pavagashote tavahi kshayam. O liberal donor, spiritual Agni, possessing purifying luster, please bestow wealth on persons who, in their sacrifices, cover the atmosphere with the smoke of fire, desiring to serve you. Please come to your home. May Agni appropriately reward the performers of sacrifices. This is the wish expressed in the Rig by sage Vishwamitra. Naturally, the type of reward would depend upon the type of sacrifice one performs and the quality of such actions. 3.2.7 Arodasi Apurnada. Agni has filled this space, the earth, and also the atmosphere with his luster. Sacrificers make use of that born Agni for benevolent acts. Like a horse, he moves everywhere. Agni is used for preparing food. Thus people make use of Agni for different purposes. Agni is present in the space as the sun in the atmosphere. A sun in the sky. In the atmosphere, Agni is present as latent heat of vaporization of water and as sensible heat of air and water vapor. Agni in the form of lightning spreads fast in the atmosphere. 3.2.8 Namasyata Abhyedatim, master of good chariot, observer and seer of the great truth, Atmiya Agni, became the leader of enlightened souls. O sacrificers, honor and serve him who is a liberal donor, is a performer of non-violent sacrifice, is homely, and is a knower of all born creatures. Here chariot may mean a vehicle to carry material bodies. In this sense, human body may be considered as a vehicle or a chariot of Agni, who is the driver of the body. Thus, Agni as energy and as spiritual light leads seekers of truth to the self. Agni is homely in two ways. As fire, he sits in all human dwellings as cooking fire and as sacrificial fire. Please make use of electrical energy these days for a variety of purposes. As Jఠragni, he is present in the bodies of all born beings. In that way, Agni knows every one of them. 2.9 Tisro Yahvasya Samidha. There are three forms of the great all-pervading soul of Agni, which are desirable and indestructible, and which purify all. One of the forms of that ether Agni, enlightened persons placed in the world of mortals. The other two forms pervade the earth, atmosphere and the space. The three forms of Agni are: 1. Sun in the space, 2. Lightning in the atmosphere, and 3. Fire on the earth, kitchen fire and sacrificial fire as mentioned before. 3.2.10 Visham Kavim Vishpadim. Human beings wishing the fulfillment of desires, sharpened his glory by their praises, as though by polishing the thunderbolt. He goes everywhere through high and low places. Further, he goes to the womb of all living creatures in the embryo state itself. Human beings make use of different forms of energy for many purposes, thus glorifying Agni. Agni moves about everywhere along with bodies of born creatures as Vaishwanara Agni and Jaఠaragni. On the other hand, Agni present in the embryos is confined to the respective wombs. 2.11 Sa Jinvade Jathareshu. Shower of happiness, soul of Agni, generates energy in the stomach of diverse living organisms, creating a roaring sound like that of a lion. That leader of men, resplendent and immortal Agni, goes on giving good wealth and jewels to oblations giving sacrificers. Jaఠaragni in the bodies of born creatures is said to produce a roaring sound, probably because of the gases escaping from the bodies, or when they are evolved due to chemical reactions in the stomach. In that sense, oblations mean food eaten by man who is worshipping the Agni within. 3.2.12 Vaishwanara Pratnatha Nakam. That leader of men, in the usual manner, ascends to the lower part of the space in his own way, doing good to all. He gives wealth or energy to all living creatures as before. Watchful Agni goes along the path of all beings in the universe. Lower part of the space is obviously atmosphere, where Agni appears in the water particles along with air to produce rain, doing good to all. Second part of the rug should not be difficult to understand. Rudavanam Yetniyam 3.2.13 Marut supports or upholds that spiritual Agni, who is born of eternal cause, is a means of performing sacrifice. He is wise, he is praiseworthy, and is a dweller of the space. We implore him, who is a conveyor of wonderful happiness, having hair like flames, and is shining brightly, for shining commands and praiseworthy wealth. Energy or Agni manifests because of the manifested self. Both Jaఠaragni and sacrificial fire are supported by oxygen of the air in the atmosphere, or air is a supporter of combustion. As mentioned earlier, Agni is stationed in the atmosphere in the space. Rest of the rug may not need any elaboration. We go to 3.2.14 Shujim na yaman Nishiram. Shujim Nayaman Nishiram. We shall invoke through worshipful hymns Agni, who is pure, is desirable in traveling the path of truth, is seer of the sun, is the conveyor of the beautiful forms of the sun, is dweller in the light, who awakens all at dawn, which is in front of the shining space, is unrestrainable, is speedy and great. As most of the adjectives qualifying Agni have already been dealt with earlier, they are not explained here. Dawn, which is the front of the space, is to be taken with respect to time, as the horizon becomes visible at the onset of dawn. Spiritual dawn reveals the shining space, abode of Atma. Last trick of the Sukta and last trick of the day, Mandram Hodaram. We implore for great wealth to soul of Agni, who is giver of bliss, is acceptor of gifts, is purifier, is without a second, is self-controlled, is worthy to be invoked, is beholder and guide of all, is like a multicolored chariot, is elegant in form, and is a benefactor of mankind at all times. Of the 5 basic forms of matter, Agni alone possesses energy, which is defined as the capability to do work. Agni is controlled by the self or manifest because of the self. The other qualities mentioned in the Rig have already been gone through one time or the other before. Thus, we finish today's discussion. Viramastavat.